Breaking news, y'all. And when I say breaking, I mean the kind of story that makes your jaw hit the floor. Your tea spill in your lap, and your neighbor's Wi-Fi suddenly start working again. Because apparently, Melody Shari didn't just rise from betrayal. She detonated the entire definition of comeback. Wait, before you roll your eyes and say, oh, another inspirational story. Big deal. Ask yourself this. How does a woman go from being dragged, humiliated, lied on, cheated on, and publicly shredded to standing on the world stage like Beyoncé lighting a match in a fireworks factory? Coincidence? Destiny? Or is there something much, much bigger happening behind the scenes? Something the media refuses to talk about? Because let me tell you this. People don't just bounce back. They don't just survive. They don't just win awards in Paris. Drag their exes in court without even raising their voice. And create a global movement unless a massive storm is brewing somewhere. And trust me, the storm is not over. Today, we're diving into the report the networks are too scared to air. The tea social media can't swallow, and the truth Martell wishes he could delete from the internet forever. So buckle up, because what you're about to hear will change everything you thought you knew about. Melody Shari. Melody Shari's story didn't explode the internet by accident. It erupted like a volcano everyone thought was dormant until it started shaking the ground beneath millions of screens. It began when Melody disappeared from the usual noise of American gossip cycles and quietly resurfaced in France, not for a vacation or a soft life moment, but to create something so unexpected that people genuinely thought she had joined a secret society of comeback queens, while the rest of the world was minding its own business. Melody stepped into Molinar, the legendary perfume house where the air smelled richer than half of Hollywood's bank accounts. And just like that, she was crafting a fragrance people would soon call a global phenomenon. Pink was being born, and the world didn't even know what was coming. But if Melody was rising, you already know someone else was sinking, and that someone was Martell Holt, a man so allergic to Melody's success that he practically broke out in hives every time her name trended. According to loud whispers and the finest investigative gossip the internet has ever produced, Martell spent nights scrolling through her pictures from Paris, zooming in, zooming out, zooming back in again, trying to figure out how a woman he once tried to break was suddenly glowing like she had been plugged directly into the Eiffel Tower. And then the cracks began to show. A suspicious document leaked online accusing Melody of stealing her own perfume formula. The so-called report looked like it was typed on a computer that belonged in a museum. The fonts didn't match, the signatures were crooked, and the watermark looked like someone copied it from Google Images at 3 in the morning. But the most embarrassing part was the reaction. The internet collectively rolled its eyes so hard that Wi-Fi connections dropped around the world. People instantly pointed fingers at Martell, not because anyone had proof, but because the energy fit him too perfectly. And while that fake scandal fizzled out faster than it appeared, something much darker happened. Melody woke up one morning in Paris to find a plain envelope slipped under her hotel room door. No name, no logo, no return address. Just a single letter on the front inside was a short message that read, "You think it's over? The game has just begun." Imagine being in a foreign country, away from home, winning on a global stage. And someone sends you a message straight out of a thriller movie. Most people would call security, the embassy, and maybe even a priest. But Melody simply stood on her balcony, looked at the Paris skyline, and breathed in the scent of her own perfume like she was preparing for a war she already knew she would win. And while she stayed calm on the outside, internet detectives were losing their minds trying to figure out whether the M stood for Martell, mastermind, menace, or something far more dangerous the moment that mysterious note surfaced. The entire narrative shifted from a simple perfume launch to something resembling a full-scale international scandal. Suddenly, everyone from social media commentators to board office workers pretending to type emails became self-appointed investigators, trying to uncover who was pulling the strings behind Melody's sudden wave of threats and sabotage. While Melody continued smiling for cameras in Paris, Rumors were spreading online with the speed of wildfire, claiming that a secret group connected to her past was orchestrating a campaign to destroy her reputation before she could rise to high on the global stage. Then came the leaked voice notes, recorded on audio so terrible it sounded like someone was speaking from inside a microwave. Yet the clips went viral with captions insisting that a major cover-up was underway. Anonymous accounts posted screenshots showing alleged conversations between industry insiders discussing the need to shut Melody down before her fragrance gained international distribution. One screenshot claimed she had angered a powerful investor. Another accused her of exposing confidential deals. A third insisted she had been warned months earlier that her success would come at a dangerous price. None of the screenshots matched. All the fonts were different. The usernames were suspiciously blurred. And still, the internet believed every word. Because nothing spreads faster than a juicy story with a beautiful woman in danger. Meanwhile, back in the United States, tension was building around Martel, who suddenly found himself under scrutiny after a former associate anonymously released what they called a preliminary report on the financial mismanagement of his own ventures. This document, which looked slightly more professional than the fake perfume report but still deeply questionable, claimed Martel had been diverting funds to silence bloggers and purchase influence on social media to control the narrative around Melody. The report even listed alleged payments made to several online personalities who coincidentally started dragging Melody right when the Paris scandal erupted. Public reaction was immediate and merciless. People demanded explanations. Podcasts hosted emergency live sessions. Commentators replayed Martel's emotional outbursts like they were analyzing a political debate. And while Martel tried to maintain his innocence by posting videos declaring he had no reason to target Melody, the internet wasn't convinced, especially when an anonymous whistleblower released a blurry security camera image showing a man who looked exactly like Martel meeting with someone outside a restaurant 2 days before Melody received the threatening envelope. Whether the image was real or edited, no one could confirm, but once it hit social platforms, it didn't matter. The narrative took on a life of its own. Analysts speculated that an elaborate operation was unfolding, one involving money, revenge, vanity, and the fear that Melody's success would overshadow too many egos. And deep beneath the noise, a chilling possibility surfaced. Someone far more powerful than Martel might be involved. Someone who did not appreciate Melody stepping into global influence territory, where political interests and financial empires were at stake. As the rumors grew louder and the whispers evolved into full-blown conspiracy theories, the world shifted its attention entirely toward Melody. Not because she asked for sympathy or looked frightened, but because the situation had escalated far beyond what anyone predicted, and each new detail felt heavier than the last. Within days, international media outlets hinted at a possible investigation, claiming that government officials in both France and the United States were quietly reviewing the sudden wave of fake documents, coordinated misinformation, and digital sabotage targeting her. Brand journalists speculated that someone with significant resources was orchestrating a planned takedown, someone who understood how to manipulate public perception and weaponize the internet. Financial analysts added fuel to the fire by suggesting that certain luxury competitors felt threatened by Melody's rise, especially since her fragrance was gaining unprecedented attention and outselling established brands in pre-launch reservations. Meanwhile, new leaks suggested Melody had been under surveillance during her entire trip to Paris, with blurry images and grainy videos showing unidentified figures lurking near her hotel entrance, watching her events from a distance, and even following her car through the narrow streets late at night. Whether these clips were real or manufactured by overly creative internet detectives, the effect was the same. A global audience became convinced that Melody was at the center of a dangerous plot, one far bigger than jealousy or personal grudges. Back in the United States, pressure mounted on Martel as more accusations surfaced, including claims that authorities were reviewing his financial inconsistencies, his online activity, and his connections to individuals involved in smear campaigns against public figures. He released multiple statements portraying himself as a misunderstood victim. Yet every time he spoke, the internet responded with skepticism, dissecting his tone, his expressions, and even the background in his videos as if he were delivering confessions instead of denials. In the middle of all this chaos, Melody remained remarkably composed. She refused to retreat, refused to break, and refused to let fear dictate her next steps. Instead, she strengthened her security team, held private meetings with legal experts, and prepared for what the media called an inevitable showdown. International regulators hinted at possible charges for whoever orchestrated the attacks. Social platforms announced audits to trace the origins of the leaks. Activists demanded accountability for the intimidation of a woman whose only crime seemed to be success. As investigations deepened and the truth loomed closer, something extraordinary happened. Public support for Melody surged, transforming her from a businesswoman under fire into a symbol of resilience. A figure representing countless women who had been silenced, undermined, or threatened whenever they dared to rise. And while the conspirators scrambled to cover their tracks, one fact became unmistakably clear. Melody wasn't just surviving a scandal. She was becoming the storm that would expose everyone who thought they could bury her voice. So now the real question is this: where does the story go next? Because if everything we uncovered today is even half as serious as it appears, then Melody's journey is far from over, and the forces working against her might only just be getting started. And that is exactly why you need to stay locked in with BuzzVault. The deeper we dig, the more shocking this situation becomes. And believe me, you do not want to miss what comes next. Do you think Melody is being targeted by a personal enemy, a corporate rival, or something far bigger than both combined? And do you believe the truth will finally come out? Or will the powerful people behind these attacks manage to silence the noise before the world connects the final dots? Drop your thoughts in the comments, subscribe to BuzzVault, and stay tuned, because the next chapter is coming sooner than you think.